Hannah. I want to tell you a little story. I walked into a shop yesterday. It's a blind shop what sells books, and I usually go in there once a month just to see if there's any art books or any tribal books or anything, you know, interesting to look at visually. Because I'm not one for reading. I'm not a great reader. Well, I suppose I am, because I read so much stuff about different. My head's always full of different cultures and different races and different places where I'm looking at, and everything gets mashed, and you can tell with my artwork, you know, I'm constantly looking at different things and picking up different things and symbols, and just generally, you know, getting back to who are we, who were we, what was our ancestors doing in the prehistory, you know, going down, not on ground level, but, you know, lots of levels. Anyway, so I've gone into the blind shop to see if I could find any books, and couldn't find any art books, and so I got a bit, so I said, oh well, never mind. And then this little man, he just turned around and he goes, hang on, he says, let me go and have a look, see if there's anything in the back. And he knows that I'm an artist, he knows what I do. So I think he must have had a quick think and think, oh, I wonder if she's into whatever book, what he was doing. So he's gone in the back, and he's dug me out these 3 books, and they're all about the northwest coastal areas of North America. So he's brought them out, placed them down, and I've opened this book. Can you see it? It's called The Art of the Northwest Coast Indians by Robert Bruce I can't see without my glass. I can't even see big words these days. I keep looking at that stupid screen. In Verity. Robert Bruce in Verity. Robert Bruce. I'll have to look him up. I've not looked him up yet. But, you know, without people writing books and being authors and writing down the stories and taking pictures and putting all this together, I want to come across it. Anyway, so I've opened the book up, and straight away was this page, and I thought to myself, hang on a minute, I've seen that image before, and I'm thinking it as an image, you know, not like as an artifact. I'm looking at it as an image, you know, like a picture, like, you know, say if you walked into an art gallery and you knew who Picasso was, and then you just looked somewhere and you think, oh, that looks like a Picasso, but you know it's not Picasso, because you know what a Picasso looks like. It's just, you know, it could be somebody who's tried to copy him or done their own twist to it. So anyway, I'm thinking, I've seen that. Where have I seen that face? And when I looked at it, straight away, it made me think about that artifact, what was made of Luddite, what Claus Donnet put on his hidden history thing. You know, that interview with Kerry and, what's her husband called? You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, just looks like it. It's got like that strange face, and that face had always stayed in my mind, because I thought, oh, that looks like an Easter Island head, because there's the big eye and the, you know, it's got a certain shape to it. Anyway, so I've looked at it, and I could see it's in the British Museum, right? Now, on the opposite page, there's another similar looking head, and it's like they've got a snake coming across their head. And if you look at that artefact, what Claw's put on his video, it's got the same style features, and it's got a snake coming out of the top of his head. Now, who else do we know who had a snake coming out of his head? King Tut. I'm thinking, hang on a minute. Were these people influenced by each other? Is it that snake clan thing? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, it just seems strange. You know, I'm putting them threes together. I'm putting King Tut with that artefact down in, I think it was found in Le Mans, or it might not have been. It might have been one of those what was found somewhere else, Bolivia. I think it was the Bolivian artefacts then. And it made out of Luddite, like the genetic disc. Incidentally, what I wanted to tell you about that genetic disc, I googled that last night, and I noticed some woman what's done this blog, and she's kind of like slating Claw's done here. And apparently she got hold of the woman who Claw's worked with in Austria, running this test on the genetic disc, and apparently this woman what ran this test apparently said to this woman on this blog, and the woman's put the letter or the email, you know, to prove a factual point, that the woman told Claw's done it that it was a fake. The genetic disc was actually a fake, and it was a modern thing. Now, does it make sense? Does it make sense? You know, and she was saying that she told Claus it was a fake, so she can't understand why he's putting it all over the internet that these are like rare artifacts when they're not. So, but she's only mentioned the genetic disc. She's not mentioned these other artifacts, what's obviously clearly made out of the same stuff, the Luddite, right? So I'm thinking, hang on, you can't go saying stuff like that, or can she? I don't know. You know, the professionals, they do the job. But how many people in the past have said something's an artefact, and then years down the line it's turned out that it wasn't an artefact, that there was just hoaxes. But I wouldn't like somebody like Claus Donny, what spent like 10 years of his life emailing museums, hundreds and hundreds of museums, to get the odd, you know, one email back, you know, regarding artifacts, putting an artifact exhibition on, you know, these strange artifacts exhibitions, what he does. So it's alright slagging him off on one piece like that, but it's another thing, you know, when you know the man has worked like Claus has done, you know, in his spare time, when he's not been doing the you know, shipping, you know, great big fine art pieces of work by major big artists, you know, from whatever era. And I know Claus works hard, and I know Claus, he's a sweet man, you know, he is a genuine person. So I wouldn't like to think somebody is doing that to Claus. They did it to Dr. Hawass, didn't they? Do you know what I mean? They rubbed his name through the dirt. I wouldn't want that to happen to Claus. So, you know, and I dare say, well, I've seen certain posts about myself, people rubbish me. You know, they'll say, oh, what's happened to all your so-called friends, your followers, you know, like the main people what's followed me. Why aren't you friends with them anymore? I choose who to be friends with and who I don't want to be friends with. And if I see somebody doing something that I don't agree with, then I'll just end it. I'm not out there to make money from this. I'm out there like any normal researcher would be, what's interested. I'm an artist. I just like to think who we were why we was doing what we was doing, and to try and make sense of it all, you know, as from a personal point of view. And you know, if I can inspire people to think differently and to go looking and do a bit of research, then that's what I get from it. Anyway, so getting back to this artifact, you know the piece what I mean. If you don't, I will send you. Well, I've put both pieces together now, like on a formatted piece, so I can show you. I don't really like to copyright, you know, like infringe on copyrights. So what I'm going to do is, once you've seen it, I'll just take it down. I'll just take it down because I don't want to play on people's copyrights. So think when you see that artifact of clauses, look at that artifact. Look at the similarities with the snake on the head and the features. And that one's got the classic big eye, which the northwestern native Indians were famous for. They are famous for it. So I want you to think about that. Another thing what I wanted you to think about was getting back to the style, right? People say that Picasso used to be this brilliant artist before he did all these distorted figures, right? He used to do his typical chocolate box, you know, what the patrons want, what they can sell on, right? He did that style of art for so many years. And then one day he's decided, right, instead of people looking at my work and walking past it, I'm going to make it different, I'm going to alter it. And that's how artists think anyway. You always want somebody to look at your work. So I think when Claus started looking at, when Picasso started looking at different things and at different ways of looking and different ways of seeing, I think he's picked that way of seeing up by looking at the African artifacts and the indigenous artifacts of whatever he was looking at the time. And he's distorted. He hasn't distorted it himself with his own mind. He's distorted the images because that's what he was seeing. And I didn't realise that until I opened this book. And you can see that the Northwest native Indians, the tribal Indians, were doing that back in early 1800s. And the generations before them would have been doing that for thousands of years before Picasso. And if that's not a Picasso, this one, look at that. Look at that. They was already distorting the image. They was already distorting the faces. They was putting eagles on top of their heads. Eagles, the faces were eagles. With a beard. A T beard, what looks like a comb. Can you see? So they were already distorting the image. It was nothing new. Man has been doing it. Not only was he distorting his own image, but then you've got a horned god, you've got a horned chief. He was putting horns coming out of the chin and the cheeks. Now, does that represent a horned god? Absolutely amazes me, amazes me. And all these artifacts here of what's been looted, taken out of America by mainly James Cook, brought to London, and now they're all in the British Museum in London, you know, in the cellars. So it's a Tlingit face. Now that, I can see that just looking at this map, this Native American map. That's going up to what? That's Alaska. just below Han, the tribe Han. Han, that's Chinese, isn't it? And then it goes up to the Aleut and the Eskimo. The Blackfoot is just to the right of the Bella Bella and just above the plains and the Cree. So they all interbred with each other, didn't they? So that's what I want you to think about with that. But why would that artifact, if it's a Bolivian artifact, then that's, you know, it's not like around the corner from Alaska, that is it? Bolivia, compared to where these artifacts were found. You know, it's different continents. It's the South America, not North America. So to get that similar style right high up makes you think whether, I don't know, this is where you have to think for yourself. The other thing I'm doing is drawing your attention to that head, that the similarities, do you know what I mean? Between the two heads, the two features, the big eye, the snake, what protrudes from the Bolivian one at the front, like Tutankhamun's, but then further higher up, you've got the snake coming across the head. The same features of the face, the same style, but the snake is going that way, like a headband, the snake band, the banded snake. Now these are supposed to be banded eyes. So, another thing, but then I've opened this book when I got home, the Kwakiutl Indians, right? Again, you know, you've got your Picasso-looking heads, but then I've opened it up, and lo and behold, can you see that, Anna? Can you see this one? This is the one I want you to look at. I'll put it up for you. Can you see that one? Can you see this one? Now look at that head. Think of that head on either Hall, what Paul Gauguin did. Can you see? And I think that Getty, they own that you know, the horned god, the wooden horned god, what Paul Gauguin supposedly have sculptured, and there's no information about it. Apparently, he wrote about it in a book called Noah, N-O-A. So whether he wrote that when he was on Eva Hall, I don't know. But the bits and pieces what I could find in my book on Paul Gauguin about that horned god. It's in this book here. I bought this I shipped it in from America, this Paul Gauguin book. Sculptures and Ceramics by Paul Gauguin. I found that horned god. Here it is. I found it in this book. Now if I show it you, I don't know if you want this better image than that. I might be thinking about the image what's on the internet. Yeah, I am. So this is the book what Paul Gauguin, his ceramics book. If you look at that image, can you see what Paul Gauguin did? It's the same. Can you see? Now Paul Gauguin, he was from again he was from Peru. Can you see? So do you see how the inspiration comes out and the styles come out, the native style is already in there. It's already in that Native America psyche, and it doesn't matter whether it's North America or whether it's South America. You know, they've been going backwards and forwards. They've been going across the land bridges probably for millions of years. Then also what I've noticed about these masks is just that particular one. You see, it's that horn god, it's like horror. Left. Carutal Indians book was mask from Guildford Island. So I'm going to be checking I'm going to check these places out and just see if there's any heads what I can see. You know how I find these heads, right? 10.5 inches. Macmillan Purchase, 1953 on her. Macmillan Purchase, 1953. The right cool buckwheat mask from Smith Inlet, wood, white, black, green, red. Macmillan Purchase again in 1961. Doesn't say where it is though. Doesn't say where the mask is. Anyway, Buckwheat masks. The wild man of the woods. Was a non-human character living in the woods. He ate ghost food and tried to persuade humans to eat it also, so that they would stay in the unreal forest. In the unreal forest world, which he inhabited. He lived in an invisible house in the forest and attracted the spirits of the drowned to his home. Why would they attract the spirits of the drowned? Floods. It's probably the mining floods, not the Great Flood, the mining floods, you know, like the Gold Rush floods. But was mass illustrated figures, for a cockle shell used as a clapper by Buckwheat. Doesn't make any sense because I don't know the traditions. Anyway, another thing what I wanted to bring you out, make you aware of the mask. There's another one there on the next page. You see, they're all wooden, but again, it's got that horned god. It's not got the bird features. That one's kind of like got the black man's look, and then that one's got a long nose. Weird. These have got the tongues out. You know, like the Maori tongue. The Maori tongue. Now, there's some more masks here. I like the Picasso heads. I call them the Picasso masks. So I'm sorry, Pablo Picasso, but it's already been done. It was being done whenever these masks were being done. Doesn't say what year they were being done. And another thing what I found, just one more thing now, and then I'll let you go. Anna. Do you know how they're going on about the round faces? It makes me laugh, you know, this long face business, right, and the round faces. So, we know that the round faces, they built the round barrows, don't we? And then the long faces, they built the long barrows, didn't they? Shh! I'm trying to make a video! Rick, be quiet for a minute, please. Anyway, so I kind of chuckle to myself because I think about a lot of that all the time. The beaker people, the beaker culture with the round faces, and then you've got the long-faced ones, the elongated faces, and then you've got the elongated goddesses at Stonehenge. I wish them people down at Stonehenge in Salisbury Plain came up north and just had a 5-minute walk across my moor. Because I tell you what, I would show them some serious long chambers. And I'm sure the further north they go into Scotland, they find even longer ones like Camster Cars. Do you know what I mean? The really long ones. And then the one what I found near, oh, what's it called? The Hill of Stain. There's even longer ones there. And then the higher up you go, you get even longer. Really long. They go for miles. They go for miles, like the Nazca lines. They run for miles. And whatever you do, don't speak to a Norwegian about stones, because I tell you what, they will just blow your mind about stones. Their stones in Norway and up that way, they make Stonehenge look like Legoland, Lego bricks. So I suppose the higher up you go, the bigger they get. We all know about big things, don't we? Anyway, so we've got this long face here. And to me he looks like a McAllister. Do you know why? Because he's got that long head and that long chin. How do we see it? I'm going to make it quick. Anyway, you've got these different round masks, you see. And they've all got different shaped faces. So I'll leave it there. Carry on with your long heads. I love it. See you later, alligator.